The security breach alarm cut through the diplomatic wing like a blade. Commander Thexvar's secondary heart seized as she watched 3 kitten-sized figures slip through a ventilation grate into the human delegation's private quarters. Not just any quarters, Ambassador Chen's personal suite, currently occupied during the most delicate treaty negotiation in Valthrine history. The cubs were royal. Thexvar's optical membranes flickered rapidly, communicating silent orders to her squad through bioluminescent pulses.
No verbal commands.
The Empress's youngest offspring, barely past their first molt, had somehow evaded 16 layers of palace security to infiltrate the one place that could spark an interstellar incident. "Commander, the Empress is en route to the signing chamber," Sub-Lieutenant Cray whispered, his carapace plates pale with terror. "She'll notice they're missing in exactly 4 minutes." Through the observation panel, Thexvar watched the 3 cubs, Zira, Mex, and Tiny Plix, pad across the human's carpet on their 6 delicate legs, antennae quivering with curiosity. The eldest Zira stood barely 30 centimeters tall, her iridescent scales still soft and vulnerable. They approached a strange human device on the counter, its chrome surface reflecting their wide golden eyes. "What is your assessment?" Thexvar asked, forcing her voice steady. "They've discovered the human's food preparation machine," Cray reported, accessing the translation database through his neural implant. "Classification: espresso maker. Temperature: dangerous. Chemical composition: unknown toxicity to Valthrine physiology." The cubs circled the machine like predators, their natural hunting instincts focused on the small ceramic cup beneath its spout. Steam rose from dark liquid within. The scent, bitter, alien, intoxicating, made their antennae vibrate with interest. Thexvar calculated her options in microseconds. Burst into the room, traumatize the royal cubs, potentially injure them in their panic, absolutely destroy diplomatic relations with the humans, and almost certainly face execution for the breach. Do nothing. Watch potential heirs to the Eternal Throne poison themselves with alien substances, face execution for negligence, and plunge both civilizations into war. She needed a third option. "Access Ambassador Chen's schedule," she ordered. "He's in pre-negotiation meditation. Deep cycle. Won't respond to communications for another 8 minutes." Mex, the middle cub, extended one delicate claw toward the cup. His sister Zira chittered softly, a sound that roughly translated to "mine first" in the royal dialect. "Can we override the room's environmental controls?" Thexvar asked. "Make them uncomfortable enough to leave?" "The cub's implants would alert the Empress to any atmospheric changes. She'd know we found them and didn't immediately extract them." Pleeks, the smallest, suddenly reared up on her hind legs, tiny paws gripping the counter's edge. She was tall enough to see into the cup now. Her antennae dipped toward the liquid, sampling the air above it. "Commander, the Empress has entered the treaty wing." 3 minutes. 3 hand audio receptors. Thexvar heard the cubs' breathing quicken with excitement. They'd never encountered anything like this dark, aromatic liquid. The palace they consumed pre-approved nutrition paste, carefully balanced for growing royal physiology. This was adventure. This was forbidden. This was disaster. Zira made her decision. She stretched upward, balancing precariously on the counter's edge, and dipped her tongue into the cappuccino. The reaction was instantaneous. Her entire body went rigid, scales flashing through a rainbow of colors. Her antennae shot straight up. Her eyes dilated until they were perfect golden orbs. Then she began to purr. The sound was so loud it vibrated the observation panel. "By the eternal void," Cray breathed. "She likes it." Mex immediately joined his sister, shoving his face into the cup. Foam dotted his nose scales. He pulled back, shook his head violently, then dove in again with renewed enthusiasm. 2 minutes, Commander." Pleeks, not to be outdone by her siblings, scrambled up beside them. The 3 royal cubs now had their faces buried in Ambassador Chen's morning cappuccino, lapping at it with increasing fervor, their tails whipping back and forth in pleasure. "They're exhibiting symptoms consistent with stimulant intoxication," Cray reported, his voice climbing toward panic. "Elevated heart rates, hyperactivity, dopamine surge. Commander, they're getting caffeinated." Thexvar watched Zira suddenly leap 3 feet straight up, execute a perfect midair spin, and land on the human's desk, scattering diplomatic papers everywhere. Mex began racing in tight circles, moving faster than she'd ever seen a juvenile move. Pleek simply vibrated in place, emitting a high-pitched squeal of pure joy. 1 minute 30 seconds. The commander's career, her honor, possibly her life, all condensed into 90 seconds. She touched the communication implant at her temple, opening a channel she'd sworn never to use except in species-level emergencies. "This is Commander Thexvar to Empress Kalthara. I have located your offspring. Before you respond, I need you to see something." She activated the observation panel's transmission function, sending the live feed directly to the Empress's private visual cortex. On screen, 3 royal cubs bounced off walls, furniture, and each other, drunk on humanity's most ancient stimulant, covered in milk foam, absolutely and utterly delighted with their discovery. The silence that followed lasted exactly 5 seconds. Then Empress Kaltara's mental voice touched Thexvar's mind, and to the commander's absolute shock, it carried not fury, but something far more unexpected: laughter. The treaty signing was supposed to begin in 90 seconds. Ambassador Chen would emerge from meditation to find his quarters destroyed, his cappuccino violated, and 3 alien royals experiencing their first caffeine hop. The Empress was moving through the palace corridors at speed, her massive form causing minor seismic readings, and Texvar had just broadcast evidence of the greatest security failure in modern Valthrine history directly to the monarch whose children she'd failed to protect. The cubs, oblivious to the chaos they had created, discovered that ceramic cups made excellent percussion instruments. The door to the humans' quarters slid open. Empress Kaltara filled the entrance, her 4-meter frame draped in ceremonial treaty robes. Her crown reflected the light like captured stars. Behind her, the entire royal guard stood at attention, weapons ready, prepared for anything except what they saw. Zira spotted her mother and immediately tried to hide behind a lamp half her size. Mex froze, mid-bounce, suspended in air for a heartbeat before gravity reclaimed him. Flix simply stared, foam mustache still decorating her tiny snout. "Mama," Zira squeaked, the universal sound of a child caught in mischief. The Empress stepped into the room. The door sealed behind her. Through the observation panel, Thexvar watched her monarch approach the crime scene. 1 violated cappuccino cup, 1 destroyed diplomatic suite, 3 caffeinated cubs trying desperately to appear innocent while visibly vibrating. Kaltara extended 1 massive claw and dipped it into the remaining dregs of a cappuccino. She brought it to her mouth, tasted it, and her optical membranes flickered in what Thexvar had learned to recognize as the Empress's version of raising an eyebrow. "Commander Thexvar," the Empress's voice resonated directly in her mind. Enter. This was it. The end of her career, possibly her life. Thexvar straightened her uniform, checked that her sidearm was properly holstered, ironic given that no weapon would matter now, and stepped through the door. The cubs immediately swarmed her legs, climbing up her uniform with their tiny claws, chattering excitedly in the royal dialect. She understood enough to catch phrases like, "Best thing ever," and "Can we have more?" and "Don't tell Mama," even though Mama was standing right there. "Your Majesty," Thexvar began, but Kalthara raised 1 claw for silence. The Empress moved to the espresso machine, examining it with the same intense focus she brought to matters of state. She touched its chrome surface, studied the various buttons and dials, then looked at the empty cup. "This is what the humans consume each morning?" she asked. "Yes, Your Majesty. Ambassador Chen has expressed that it is essential to his cognitive function and diplomatic temperament." Fascinating. Kaltara's attention shifted to her offspring, now using Thexvar as a climbing structure. "And my children broke approximately 16 security protocols to access it. 17, Your Majesty. They also bypassed the quantum lock on the ventilation system." A sound emerged from the Empress. Thexvar had served her for 12 years and had never heard it before. It took her a moment to identify it. The Empress was chuckling. "Do you know what the humans would call this, Commander?" "No, Your Majesty. Curiosity." "Problem solving." The Empress's massive eyes fixed on Thexvar. "They would call it exactly what we need from the next generation of Valthrine leadership." Ambassador Chen's voice came through the intercom, groggy from meditation. "Commander Thexvar, my biometric sensors indicate multiple life forms in my quarters. Is there a situation?" The Empress looked at the cubs, who were now attempting to brew another cappuccino by pressing random buttons. The machine began making concerning noises. "Your Majesty, your presence is required at the treaty signing in 60 seconds. I am aware, Commander." Kaltara moved with surprising speed for her size, scooping up all 3 cubs in her primary arms. They squeaked in protest, still reaching toward the espresso machine. "But first we must address this breach of security." Before it opened, she turned back to Thexvar. "Commander, I want a full security review of how 3 juveniles bypassed every protocol we have. I want to know every vulnerability they exploited. She paused, her optical membranes flickering with what might have been pride. And then I want those vulnerabilities kept exactly as they are. Your Majesty? My children found a way through systems designed by our finest minds. They did it for something they wanted badly enough to risk punishment. That kind of determination should be studied, not suppressed. The Empress shifted her squirming bundle. Also, schedule a formal meeting with Ambassador Chen. I believe we need to negotiate a cultural exchange program. One that includes human beverage preparation. The door opened. Ambassador Chen stood there in meditation robes, his graying hair disheveled, taking in the scene. Alien Empress, 3 small aliens covered in foam, his destroyed Cappuccino, and his considerably less destroyed quarters than the security alert had suggested. To his credit, he only paused for 2 seconds. Your Majesty, I see you've discovered my morning ritual. Your ritual, Ambassador, has just revolutionized royal parenting. Kaltara held up Zira, who was still vibrating. What is the human phrase? Coffee break? Chen's face did something complicated. Then he smiled, the genuine expression that had made him Earth's most successful diplomat. Your Majesty, would you like me to teach you how to make it? I have a spare machine in my ship. The Empress's bioluminescent patterns rippled with pleasure. Ambassador, I believe we've found the true foundation for our alliance. The treaty was signed 4 hours late. Nobody complained. The delay was spent in the palace kitchens, where Ambassador Chen taught the Empress of the Valthrine Empire the sacred human art of pulling the perfect espresso shot. 3 royal cubs supervised from a safe distance, their earlier caffeine high mellowing into what humans called the crash. Watching an interstellar alliance form, not over trade agreements or military pacts, but over steamed milk and coffee beans. And she understood that she'd just witnessed the most important security breach in galactic history. Years later, when historians asked her what really brought humans and Valthrine together, she would tell them about 3 curious cubs and 1 perfect cappuccino, and how sometimes the most powerful diplomatic tools are the ones no one expects. The galaxy changed that day, not with weapons or threats, but with Fulmard and the universal language of children getting into things they shouldn't, and parents trying desperately not to laugh while pretending to be stern, and the recognition that maybe, just maybe, we're all more alike than different, especially when it comes to that first glorious taste of something we've never experienced before and immediately can't live without.